Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. I'm having so much fun with the May release from Pretty Pink Posh. For my next card, I'll be using their 4th of July stamp and coordinating die set. I love making patriotic cards, so this set was perfect for me. I really like that they have the coordinating die to go around the sentiment America, and I will be using that in this video. If you've watched any of my videos before, you probably know I love the stacked edge dies from Pretty Pink Posh. There's currently 2 different sets. I'll be using the chevron die from set number 1. So I cut out several different pieces from some solid cardstock. I have a nice royal blue, a light blue, and some red. I have a piece of white cardstock. This is 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. And I'll just cover the entire thing with ATG tape. This is a technique I've done numerous times. I never get tired of making cards using these dies. So I'll start off with the red. I'm trying to have the points of the chevron lining up to the very top of this white cardstock. Then I'll add this light blue. It's a little more teal colored. Then use that royal blue and then repeat that pattern. I think the 3 colors look so pretty together. As you can see, all of the die cuts line up perfectly together, hence the name stacked edges. So I'm coming to the bottom of the card, and I really like how it ends with the points with that bottom blue color. Now, since I do have ATG adhesive in all those little white triangles, I decided to cut some more of the stacked edge pieces using some white cardstock. That way it'll also have that stitched detail along the edge. I did add some liquid adhesive just to make sure those pieces are going to stay in place. Then I'll flip over the entire panel. With my scissors, I'll cut off all the extra. And since that white cardstock is 100 pound, it's real easy to follow along without accidentally cutting pieces I don't want to cut. Now, one of the small white triangles did fall off. I probably didn't let the glue dry long enough, so I did add just a little more liquid adhesive to adhere it in place. I'll put some ATG tape on the back of this panel and add it to a card base. I decided for this card not to add that cardstock layer, which I know is not like me at all. Next, I'll use the Stitched Duo 1 tag set from Pretty Pink Posh. And then I have several of the image stamps from the 4th of July stamp set. So 2 of the fireworks and then 2 stars. I'm using some Catherine Pooler inks. I love how these colors matched perfectly with the cardstock. And I chose the cardstock first and then looked for ink, so that worked out really well. I used the suede shoes color for this larger firework. I love that blue. I have rocking red for the smaller firework. And I'm just stamping them randomly on this tag. Some of the images will go off the edge. Now I'll fill in some of those gaps with the 2 different stars. One is a solid star and the other is just the outline. And I'm using the color It's a Boy. I'll put some of those stars next to each other. So isn't that a fun background for this tag? Now I'll set those both aside and start working on the sentiment. I have the word America on an acrylic block, some Versamark ink, and I'll be using the Wow Opaque Bright White embossing powder. So I used some anti-static powder on this blue cardstock first, stamped the word America, then I'll just sprinkle the embossing powder on top. And I did wipe away a few of the stray embossing powder pieces. Now I'll get my heat gun and I'm starting to heat set it from behind. That way I'm not blowing any extra embossing powder on the front. Once it's mostly set, then I'll finish it up on the front. Then I'll use the coordinating die to cut out the word. And I love the detail from this die. It gets the little center in the A, it gets in between a few of the letters. It's very detailed. Now using that same die and also some iridescent cardstock from Tonic Studios, I cut out 2 more pieces, put some liquid adhesive on the back of the America, then I'll glue it onto the first iridescent cardstock piece. And I'm leaving just a tiny bit of it showing on the bottom. So I'll do the same thing again, just offsetting it slightly. It's hard to see on the video, but this will add some extra layer and just that little bit of sparkle from underneath. Now I'll put some liquid adhesive on the back of the tag, adhere it to the card at an angle. Then for the word America, I was going to pop it up, but I think it already has enough dimension with the 3 layers. So I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere it to the lower right-hand corner of that tag. And I'm using an acrylic block just to add some extra weight to let that glue dry. Then using some old blue ribbon from my stash, I believe this is from May Arts, it's their wrinkle ribbon. I'll tie a bow. I think the blue matches really close to that blue cardstock. Trim the ends, and then I'll use some glue dots to adhere it to the top of this tag. I find it easier to take the bow and press it onto the glue dot rather than try to remove that glue dot and put it onto the bow. I put one in the center of the bow and then another glue dot behind each of the loops of the bow. And I do end up adding one more to the tail because that one on the left kept sticking up. I stamped out the rest of the sentiment on that same light blue cardstock, so happy 4th of July. I was trying to place it underneath the word America, but it just didn't fit right. So I'm going to separate 4th of July from happy. So I'm still trying to find a good placement for it. It just didn't look right. So I played with it a little bit off camera and decided to use the same sentiment split in half, this time on some red cardstock. So I'll adhere 4th of July right above the word America and then happy off to the left at a slight angle. And I like the look of the sentiment on the red. I think it balanced everything out. For finishing touch, I'll add some bling. These are some iridescent stars. So I'll put a few of them in the upper right-hand corner. I have a couple in the lower left-hand corner, and I'll also add one to the center of the blue fireworks. I'm adding a drop of Barely Art liquid glue and using an embellishment wand to help pick up those stars, since there isn't any adhesive on the back. When the light hits them, those stars are super sparkly, so it adds a really nice touch to this card. I love all the bold colors, and it was so fun I didn't use any pattern paper at all. This was just cardstock and stamps. And there is my finished card. I love how this turned out. The 4th of July stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh is so fun. I always enjoy making patriotic cards. I will have links provided in the description box for most of the products used in this video, and I'll also add a link to Pretty Pink Posh's May release. They have so many fun products. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to guest design for them this month. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.